Amy Fleming has always been the strongest soul on the ranch. But lately, something inside her has begun to feel painfully quiet. It's the kind of quiet that doesn't come from peace, but from a slow, silent ache she can't explain to anyone. Everyone sees her smiling, working, and holding everything together. But in the hidden corners of Heartland, Amy is starting to face a loneliness she never expected. Amy's days start the same way they always have, but now there is a heaviness that doesn't match the soft morning light at Heartland. She steps out of the house, the air crisp around her, and she pulls her jacket tighter, not because she is cold, but because she feels something missing. She moves toward the barn with careful steps, as if dragging her heart along with her. Horses greet her with soft breaths and gentle eyes, yet even the warmth in their presence feels distant today. Amy knows every sound of the ranch, every shift in the wind, every creak of the barn door. These things used to feel like home, like safety, but now, they only remind her of the long silence she has grown used to. As she begins her morning tasks, she tries to act like the Amy everyone expects her to be, calm, steady, strong, but inside, she feels like a part of her is slowly fading. She fixes a saddle, brushes a horse, and tries to smile, but the smile never reaches her eyes. She keeps thinking back to how things used to be when the ranch felt alive with laughter and voices, when she had someone to talk to at every turn, when she didn't carry her thoughts alone. Now, she feels surrounded by open fields yet trapped in a space too small for her heart to breathe. Amy pauses beside a stall, her hand resting lightly on a horse's neck. She waits, thinking the simple touch will ground her the way it always has. But instead, she feels an emptiness she cannot shake. It scares her. Not the kind of fear that rushes through your body in a sudden burst, but the kind that builds slowly, day after day, until it becomes part of you. She wonders when it started, this quiet space inside her where joy used to live. Maybe it has been growing for a long time, unnoticed. Maybe she ignored it for too many days, too many months. She looks around the barn, noticing how still everything is. The silence feels heavier than usual. There was a time when she would have welcomed the silence, finding peace in its simplicity. Now, it feels like the ranch is echoing her own loneliness back at her. She wishes she could talk to someone, but every time she tries to open her mouth, the words feel too heavy to speak. She doesn't want to trouble anyone. She doesn't want to be the one who needs help. Amy wipes dust off a bridle and lets out a slow breath. She knows she should get through the rest of her tasks, but she can't stop her thoughts from drifting. People think she's fine. People think she's strong. But no one notices the moments she stands still a little too long, the moments her hands shake just slightly, the moments she hides her eyes because tears have started to form. She tries to swallow the feeling, but loneliness has a way of settling deep inside the chest, making every breath feel heavy. She steps outside the barn and looks over the fields stretching out in every direction, wide, open, endless. And yet, she has never felt more closed in. The ranch has always been her home, her comfort, her family. But now she wonders if the quiet spaces between everything are becoming too wide for her to carry alone. She watches the sunlight climb over the trees, hoping the warmth will reach her heart. But it doesn't. Not today. Amy takes another step, then another, moving through her routine as if her body knows the path even when her heart doesn't. She keeps telling herself she will be okay, that this feeling will pass. But deep down, she fears the loneliness growing inside her is becoming something she can no longer ignore. Something inside Amy shifts as the day goes on, but not in a way that brings comfort. Instead, the loneliness she tried to ignore in the morning begins to push harder against her heart, showing itself in small, unexpected ways. She walks toward the arena, the dust rising in soft clouds beneath her boots, and every step feels heavier than it should. She tells herself it's just another day, just another quiet moment. But deep down, she knows this is something different. This is the kind of silence that speaks louder than any storm. She notices how empty the yard feels. There was a time when someone would always be around, Jack fixing a fence, Georgie rushing to prepare for a ride, or even a simple voice calling from the house. Today, all she hears is the wind brushing against the grass. It should be peaceful, but instead it feels like the world is slowly backing away from her, leaving her alone with feelings she doesn't know how to control. She starts saddling a horse, but her fingers are clumsy. She drops a strap, and the small sound echoes in her chest, much louder than it should. It's strange how a simple mistake can suddenly feel like proof that she is falling apart. She takes a deep breath and tries to focus on the ride ahead, hoping that working with horses will calm the weight inside her. But even as the horse moves under her, steady and gentle, she feels disconnected, as if she is watching herself from a distance. Normally, riding clears her mind, makes her feel grounded, alive, connected. Today, she feels like she's floating above her own life, unable to reach the part of herself that used to find joy in these moments. She keeps trying to remind herself of who she is: Amy Fleming, someone who heals horses and understands hearts. But what happens when her own heart feels too tired to understand itself? As she rides, memories rush into her mind without permission. Moments she thought she'd healed from. Moments of loss, of love that once felt endless but now feels far away. She tries to push them aside, but the memories cling to her like shadows that refuse to fade. She feels guilty for thinking about the past, guilty for feeling lonely when so many people depend on her strength. But loneliness doesn't listen to reason. It creeps in during the quiet moments and sits beside you when no one else does. After a while, she slows the horse to a stop, unable to pretend anymore. She slides to the ground and rests her hand on the horse's neck, hoping for the familiar comfort she has always found there. The horse leans into her touch, warm and steady, but even that isn't enough to fill the space inside her. She thinks about how strange it is that she can understand what a horse feels with just one look. Yet she can't understand why her own heart feels so lost. She whispers something soft, a small confession meant only for the wind and the horse, something she hasn't dared say aloud. She feels alone. The words surprise her, even though they come from deep inside. She looks down at her hands and realizes how tired they look. Tired from work, tired from responsibility, tired from pretending she's fine. She wonders how long she has been pretending. Days, weeks, maybe longer. She doesn't want to burden anyone. She doesn't want to be seen as weak. But loneliness is not weakness, it is a wound that grows when ignored. She turns toward the ranch buildings, hoping anything will distract her. But the yard is still empty, the house still quiet, the sky still open and distant. For a moment, she feels like she could shout and no one would hear her. It's a frightening thought, not because she wants attention, but because she suddenly realizes how deeply she has slipped into a space where she feels unseen. Amy walks back toward the barn, her steps slow, her breath unsteady. She tries to hold herself together, but the truth is becoming clearer with each passing minute. She is lonely, not because she is alone, but because she carries too much inside her with no place to put it. And for the first time in a long time, she wonders what will happen if she keeps hiding it. The afternoon light fades slowly, stretching long shadows across the ranch as Amy walks inside the barn again. But this time, the familiar smell of hay and leather doesn't bring even the smallest comfort. Instead, it feels like she's stepping into a memory, one that reminds her of times when life felt fuller, louder, warmer. Now everything sits in a quiet stillness that wraps around her like a cold blanket she can't shake off. She stands there for a moment, letting the silence settle, but the weight in her chest only grows heavier. She tries to busy herself with simple chores, hoping movement will keep her mind from collapsing into old thoughts. She stacks tools, sweeps the floor, wipes down surfaces that don't need wiping. It's as if she's trying to clean away something invisible, something only she can feel. Her hands move, but her heart stays trapped in the same dull ache. At one point, she pauses, leaning on the handle of the broom, and closes her eyes. She can hear her own breathing, slow, tired, uneven. It hits her, then, how exhausted she truly is, not from work, but from holding everything inside. In that quiet moment, memories creep in again. She remembers laughter in this barn, footsteps running across the floor, voices filling the empty spaces. She remembers love, comfort, warmth, things that once felt permanent. But life has changed in ways she didn't choose. People she loved drifted into their own paths, their own responsibilities, their own worlds. She doesn't blame them. She knows everyone has their own journey, their own pain. But knowing that doesn't erase the sharp sting in her heart. Every time she looks around and realizes no one is standing beside her in the places that used to feel crowded with life. She walks toward an old crate in the corner, one she hasn't touched in months. Something inside her pulls her toward it, as if her heart is searching for answers she hasn't been ready to face. She opens it slowly, dust rising into the air like tiny ghosts of old memories. Inside are things she almost forgot. She kept small reminders of moments when she didn't feel so alone. A worn-out glove someone had left behind, a photo she never framed, a ribbon tied around a horse's mane from a day she wishes she could relive. She picks up the ribbon, feeling how soft and fragile it is, and a strange ache fills her chest. She sits down carefully, as if afraid the moment might break her completely. For the first time in a long while, she lets herself be still, really still. No pretending, no pushing the feelings away. She allows the loneliness to sit beside her instead of fighting it. She doesn't cry, at least not at first, She simply breathes, letting her heart speak in ways she usually avoids. She thinks of all the people she loves, all the moments that shaped her, all the strength she had to show, even when she was hurting. She wonders why she expects so much from herself, why she feels like she must always be the one who holds everything together, why she believes she must never show the cracks, even when they are widening. As she sits there, she becomes aware of how long she's been holding her emotions inside like a secret she's ashamed of. No one ever told her she had to be unbreakable. No one asked her to bury her pain. But somewhere along the way, she convinced herself that needing help made her weak. That loneliness was something to hide, not something to talk about. But now, sitting alone in the quiet barn with memories spread around her, she realizes how tired she is of hiding. A tear finally escapes, sliding down her cheek before she can stop it. It's not loud or dramatic. It's soft, silent, and almost gentle, as if her heart is finally letting go of a weight she wasn't meant to carry alone. She wipes the tear quickly, but more follow, each one breaking through the wall she built around her feelings. She buries her face in her hands, the loneliness she has tried so hard to ignore spilling out in quiet sobs that echoes softly through the barn. For a moment, she feels scared of what she's feeling. But then, slowly, the fear fades. She realizes that maybe this moment isn't about breaking. Maybe it's about finally acknowledging the pain she pushed away for too long. Maybe it's the beginning of something new, something gentler, something honest. She lifts her head, breath trembling, and looks around the barn again. Nothing has changed. Yet somehow, everything feels different. She has let the truth out, even if no one else has heard it. And for the first time, the loneliness doesn't feel like an enemy, it feels like a message. A sign that she needs support, connection, understanding. A reminder that she is human too. Evening settles over Heartland in soft shades of gold and fading blue. And Amy steps out of the barn with a heaviness that feels different than before. It's not the same quiet ache she carried all day. Something inside her has shifted. It's as if letting herself feel the loneliness really feel it opened a small space inside her chest where the air finally moves again. The ranch looks almost the same as it always has, but now the light seems warmer. The sky seems wider, and she feels a thin thread of calm weaving through the sorrow still lingering in her heart. She walks toward the paddock, each step slow and thoughtful. The soft sound of horses moving through the grass pulls her out of her own thoughts, grounding her in the simple rhythm of life around her. She leans on the fence, resting her arms on the wood, and watches a horse lift its head to acknowledge her. The moment is quiet, but it holds more comfort than she expected. She realizes that even though she feels alone, she has never been completely abandoned. There are still living hearts around her, steady warm, wordless, reminding her that connection doesn't always come in the form of conversation. For a few minutes, she stands there, breathing steadily. She lets the cool air hit her face, drying the last traces of tears she didn't bother to wipe away. She doesn't feel embarrassed. Instead, she feels strangely relieved, as if something heavy inside her finally loosened its grip. She knows the loneliness hasn't vanished. It's still there, quiet and real, but now it feels less like a shadow she must hide from and more like a truth she is finally willing to face. As she looks toward the house, she notices a small light glowing in the kitchen window. It's a simple thing, but the sight warms something in her chest. She knows someone must have turned that light on, not because they knew she needed it, but because this is a home, and homes are meant to stay lit for the ones who return. For the first time today, she feels a gentle hope settling into her. Maybe she hasn't been as invisible as she feared. Maybe people still care in ways she hasn't noticed. She walks back toward the house slowly, not rushing, allowing herself to feel the weight of each step. Inside the door, she finds a single mug of coffee left on the counter. Steam no longer rises from it, but the gesture is unmistakable. Someone thought of her. Someone saw her moving through the day, even if she believed no one did. She picks up the mug and holds it tightly, letting the simple act remind her that loneliness can twist perceptions, making the world seem quieter than it truly is. As she sits at the small kitchen table, she thinks about the people in her life. Jack, always steady even when he doesn't say much. Lisa, kind in her own gentle way. Georgie, far away but never truly distant. They are all living their own stories, and sometimes those stories take them in different directions. But that doesn't mean she has been forgotten. It doesn't mean she is as alone as she felt this morning. Life changes. People change. But real love never truly disappears. It just shifts shape, learning to fit into new seasons of life. Amy lets out a long, slow breath and stares at her hands. She knows she can't ignore her feelings anymore. She knows she needs to speak, to reach out, to admit that she's been struggling. Not because she is weak, but because she is human. And humans aren't meant to carry every burden in silence. The idea scares her a little, but it also gives her strength. She doesn't have to open up all at once. She just has to take one small step. She stands and places the mug in the sink, her movements steady and calm. The house feels warmer now, not because the loneliness is gone, but because she understands it better. The ache remains, but it no longer feels like it's swallowing her. Instead, it feels like a reminder, one that tells her she needs connection just like anyone else. She walks toward her room, and before turning off the light, she glances back toward the kitchen, almost expecting someone to walk in. No one does, but the hope is enough. She closes the door gently behind her. Amy lies down, pulling the blanket close. For the first time in weeks, her heart doesn't feel like it's battling against itself. She knows tomorrow might be hard, and the next day too, but now she understands something she didn't before. She doesn't have to face that loneliness in silence. She can reach out. She can speak. She can let the people who love her see the parts of her she has kept hidden for too long. And as her eyes begin to close, she feels a small, quiet truth settle inside her. She is not as alone as she believed. Not anymore. Not tonight.